My life has imploded. Husband, 29 male, slept with my mom, 55 female, right before we got married 2 years ago. He confessed it to me yesterday out of guilt. The details are that he was extremely drunk on his bachelor party night, which I knew had happened. He doesn't drink often and overdid it. Said the next morning he didn't remember anything after a certain point. I thought nothing of it. Looking back, I can see how he was acting pretty off, which I assumed at the time was wedding jitters. Now he's told me he did remember coming home that night, which was when my mom, staying with us that week for the wedding, came on to him. He went along with it to the point of ending up having sex in her bed. In fact, he passed out in her bed and was there the whole night. My bachelorette party was the same night. I came home around 3 a.m. to see he wasn't in our bed. I texted him, but assumed he had crashed with a friend, as he'd said he might do that if things got crazy. But he was actually with my mother, right in the room next fucking door. The next morning, he quietly slipped out while I was still asleep, then opened the door pretending he'd just come home after sleeping off the drunkenness at his friend's. He got into bed with me and told me that lie. As if that wasn't enough, he also initiated sex soon after. He'd been fucking my mother mere hours before. We got married the very next day. Fuck everything. I literally cannot believe this. My mother has a history of trying to flirt with guys I've dated and being inappropriate. Not this bad, but still. My husband knew this. We laughed about it. He assured me he would never, in a million years, think she was attractive. What the fuck? I called her last night, just said, quote, husband told me everything. She spent several minutes pretending not to know what I was talking about, then denying everything and saying he was making it up. Then claiming she'd woken up next to my husband, forcing himself on her. The sheer audacity of the bullshit she is capable of is beyond any disgust I can properly convey. I eventually just ended the call. I could not stop crying. She refused to even admit the truth, let alone take any responsibility or apologize. I'm not even worth basic honesty in my own mother's eyes. I'm not even worth a half-assed I'm sorry to her. The person who's supposed to love you no matter what. And does she also think I'm stupid? Why keep lying to someone who knows you're lying unless you actually think they'd fall for your shit? Today I can't cry at all. Everything feels unreal. I'm completely lost and almost feel like I dreamed this or something. I've lost the two most important people in my life because they decided that I wasn't as important to them as having a quick fuck. Well, I hope it was the best 10 minutes of their lives. And sure, maybe my husband didn't come home that night with the planned intention of sleeping with her. He probably didn't, and it was just horrible judgment from overdrinking. That doesn't change the fact he and my mom had sex. No one should be able to say that about their spouse. How is that normal? I cannot imagine remaining in a marriage where my spouse has fucked my mom, literally 2 nights before our wedding. There's simply no coming back from that, right? No, I will never, quote, get over or forgive it. I feel absolutely revolted that for the last 2 years they've been at family visits together, acting more or less normal, with me right there, like a stupid fucking clueless fool. There's probably much more I'm forgetting, but maybe it doesn't even matter. I'm just done. My life is gone and I have no idea where I will be next week, let alone next year. We were going to be together for the rest of our lives. Now it's gone, just like I have nothing. What can I do now? How do I possibly explain to the rest of my family why we're divorcing? I am so humiliated.
Am I the asshole for getting angry with my girlfriend and demanding she pay to replace my sheets after she got blood on them? I, male 26, have been dating my girlfriend, female 24, for about a year now, and we recently moved in together. She didn't have a lot of furniture, so it's mostly mine in our apartment, including my bed, frame, mattress, and sheets. I'm a neat freak, and she generally is too, so we get along pretty well living together. Now, I'm not one of those guys that gets grossed out over a woman having her menstrual cycle. I've done the nasty with my girlfriend on lighter days with the towel down. I'll buy her feminine products. I don't get weirded out if she mentions it. I will say, though, it grosses me out getting on the bed. And a few days ago when I woke up, I noticed a blood spot on the bed and got totally grossed out. I knew she had been on her period for 3 days already, so it wasn't any sort of surprise accident. I asked how it happened and she was upset and said she thought she didn't need to sleep with anything on, meaning no menstrual products. I said that's absurd and why would she go without wearing anything and get blood all over my bed? I said that was irresponsible and that she needed to pay me for new sheets. She agreed but got upset with me for getting angry and calling her irresponsible. She said she likes to wear nothing when she can and that she thought her flow was light. She said I shouldn't be angry or talk down on something that I don't experience. I said she should be careful with where we sleep and that it was unhygienic.
Storytime on when I caught my stepdad abusing my mom. So a little background information, men are trash, and I was 13 and in 7th grade. Well, it was my birthday and my mom took me to the shoe store to get some new shoes, and I saw this guy keep staring at my mother. So I pulled my mom aside and whispered to her like, hey, there's some dude staring at us. Because low-key, he looked creepy as hell. Well, apparently he wasn't creepy. He came up to my mom and started talking to her, and he was flirting with my mom a lot, so I grabbed a random pair of shoes and told her I was ready to go. Her and I walk up to the register. I think the conversation is over with her and James. But then he's like, oh, like, let me pay for that. Next thing you know, they exchange numbers and I start seeing him a lot more. And my mom seemed very happy, like she was smiling 24/7. So fast forward, we all move in together and I got a job. Well, my best friend Kayla was 17 and she had her driver's license. So like I said, we all moved in together. My mother was super happy. And I had a job. My best friend would come and pick me up after this job, and I would usually get off work around 7 p.m. Well, around this time, James would have already been at work. He usually started work at like 6 o'clock, but every time that I would come home, my mother would be crying in her bedroom. So I ended up telling my best friend about it, and she said that she would come and get me early the next day from work, so that way we could possibly see what was happening while I wasn't there. So fast forward the next day, Kayla come and gets me early from work. She pulls around the corner, and we walk to my house because they would have seen her car if we parked on the street. I quietly unlock the door. My best friend and I go upstairs. We hear my mom screaming in pain. And the bedroom door was wide open. He was hitting my mother. So I kind of whispered to my best friend to take a video while I called the cops. He ended up going to jail, got a restraining order, and now my mom and I are living in a new house.
32 male. My friend, 32 female, is extremely hostile about me and my husband, 30 male, having a child and can't see the problem or why it upsets us. Me and my husband had our first child through surrogacy around 7 months ago. It was incredibly difficult to get through the process and get through the red tape, etc. So yes, we were the typical excited parents. But we tried really hard to not spam our Facebook with photos. Seriously, we posted 4 when she was born and then we just text them to those who wanted to see. To keep the silly, soppy statuses to a minimum and generally try to keep our new baby joy to ourselves, because we too both know how annoying it is to see baby talk all over your newsfeed. Right from the get-go, we were honest with all of our friends about having a child, that we put the time aside to spend time with our friends, that we wouldn't lose contact with them, that we wouldn't make our childless friends listen to our baby talk if they didn't want to hear. I love my friends and my husband loves his friends, and we know that some childless people do not want to hear about kids. So we made sure that was an option for our friends. Every weekend we do something with our childless/single etc. friends without our child. My mum very happily looks after our daughter for us on that night and does not begrudge it at all. We try to accommodate everyone, our friends with kids, our friends who don't have kids and don't want to deal with kid talk and so on. For the most part it works and is really harmonious. Except for one friend, of course. We had a mutual friend, A, though she is more my friend. But when we announced that our surrogate was pregnant, A grew weirdly hostile. We both know A is not fond of children, so we actively avoided bringing up kids and told her if it made her uncomfortable to hear about our upcoming child, she could let us know and we'd stop. A says children are a sore spot for her because her ex pushed her for kids and she didn't want them, so they broke up, and I completely get that. We actively policed our behavior and didn't bring up kids around her, but she's becoming really hostile and downright rude. We announced we are having a child to our friends. A audibly scoffed and rolled her eyes and told us to never bring it near her. We brushed this off at first, but she's continued to make mean comments about children and our children, and at one point kept calling her an it constantly. She was also really rude when we announced we were having a girl and said something like, "You're going to just assume it's gender, really?" She's not normally the type of person to get into this whole don't give kids a gender topic, so it was highly out of character for her. And when I joked and said she was being sarcastic, she told me she was deadly serious, and that we were bad parents if we did assume, and that the way she said it was aggressive and pretty nasty. When our baby was finally born and we posted the 4 pictures, A put a status saying, "Here we fucking go, it starts." Whilst it wasn't directly mentioning us, it was posted within 5 minutes of me posting our pictures and announcing our child's birth. I said nothing though because I did not want to get into an argument. She's made comments on and off now since our child was born, both in person and on Facebook. Recently a friend asked how we were doing and how our child was on my Facebook wall. It was aimed at me, no one else and on my wall, so I figure it's fine to talk. My Facebook after all. The following exchange happened with A on that post. Bear in mind A was not tagged in this, so she will have had no notifications about it and could have hidden it in her newsfeed. A said, "You actually willingly got that kid." I replied, "What?" A said, "They smell funny, they are clingy. They are parasitic creatures feeding off their parents. They are too small and too fragile and probably break way too easily, and they are loud as hell." I replied, "I really don't think saying they are parasitic is appropriate, especially on a post that was in no way aimed at you. You could always hide my post or post aimed at me by unfollowing me or something. Though I very rarely talk about name of child on here." A friend asked how she was doing. "You've hijacked the post to say this stuff, which, quite frankly, is in kind of poor taste in a conversation about my child. Do you really hate kids that bad?" A replied saying, "I don't hate them, I just don't see the appeal. I hate arsehole kids at the store that run into me or act like shitheads." I replied, "My child is 7 months, hardly an arsehole kid in the store. You were a baby once, you know," with a winky face. A replied, "I didn't ask to be a baby. I had no control over that. It's not my fault you have thrown away your lives. You also completely gave up on your brother when you had that kid. I don't get why you think I'm the bad one here for stating my opinion. The brother I supposedly gave up on was my little brother, who was in drug recovery and for a time lived with us. When we announced we wanted to have kids, he actively and willingly moved out and found a new place to stay and is doing really well. This was a move of his own choice. He felt strong enough to move out and said the concept of a crying baby was enough to motivate him into moving. But somehow A thinks we abandoned my brother, who I am in daily contact with and give a lot of support to, and who also works in my little company. At this point I stopped communicating since it's easy to get feelings hurt over Facebook. I tried calling her, and then when she didn't answer I text her. "Hi, what's going on? You seem unusually mad about child's name. You okay?" They replied, "I'm fine, it's not my fault if you misconstrue my words to mean I'm mad." I replied again saying, "It seemed like you were angry about us having a child. We tried to keep child's name out of your life, but you chose to comment on that status." She replied saying, "I genuinely do not understand why you're making a big deal out of this. I was not mad. You are reading way too into it and being overly sensitive." Then I replied again saying, "Your comments were insensitive." She replied, "I do not see how they were. I was stating fact." Then goes on to say, "What's the best thing to do here? We've been friends since we were about 15 and I don't want to lose such a long and wonderful friendship over this, but I half feel like at any moment she's going to say it's me or the baby and make me pick, which is ridiculous. Are my husband and I really being overly sensitive? I feel like we've really tried hard to accommodate everyone and even stretched ourselves a little thin at times to do so, and A just cannot seem to see a problem with her behavior. If I do cut off the friendship, then it causes a lot of trouble in our friendship circle and family, as this friend is a close family friend to boot, and I'm loath to cause trouble for so many people. Has anyone else had a friend become hostile over the birth of a child? I get that she may feel like she's losing her friend to a baby, but I've tried so hard to keep everything as it was, despite that being very hard to do with a child in our life. Is there anything I can do to ease the tension, or should I stop pandering to her at this point? She blames anything like this on her ex wanting to push kids on her, but I just feel that's a bit of an excuse at this point. 28 male, my girlfriend, 26 female, broke my PS4 and doesn't understand why I'm so upset. I don't really know where to go from here. So some background. During quarantine, I've been playing my PS4 games a lot more. I was able to finish up some stories and complete some big games in my free time the last few months. It was a great escape for me. My girlfriend Liz never got it fully but understood I liked playing it and it made me happy. I told her that I was really looking forward to the PS5 and was hoping to get one soon. I missed out on the pre-order in the initial shipping wave, so I got a bit sad for a while but knew I would eventually get one when the craze settled down, whether it was next year or the year after. Her friend Kat also knew of this because her boyfriend was looking forward to the new Xbox. This is what happened today. This is when shit got bad. I was playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake, finishing up some last achievements when Liz came into the room with Kat. I said, "Hey babe, how was your day?" and without warning, she pulled the PS4 out of the wall and smashed it on the ground. She then took a hammer and smashed whatever pieces were left. This happened within 20 to 30 seconds. I just looked at her shocked. I asked, "What happened? Why did you do that? Did I do something to make you mad?" This was when I noticed Kat was recording everything with her phone. Liz walks away, then comes back and shows me a PS5 box. I still don't react, and she says, "Merry early Christmas." I just walk out the room and go to the bedroom and lock the door. Liz comes knocking an hour later and asks, "What's wrong? I thought you wanted a PS5. I told her I couldn't even think about that because she literally just destroyed part of my life that I've created over the last 5 years. I explained to her that she just ruined hundreds of hours of gameplay and saves that I had built up. Liz just said, "Well, can't you just do it again?" This is when I walked out and left the apartment. I came back a couple of hours later with Kat and Liz now both showing off the PS5 to me. Kat says, "Look, Liz worked really hard to get you this. We just wanted to make you happy." I asked Kat why she was recording. She says that some person on TikTok or Instagram did the same thing to their boyfriend and they were happy. Apparently, that's where they got the idea from. A girlfriend came in and broke the PS4, then gave them a PS5 and everyone cheered or something. I still can't believe it. They wanted to make a video in that spirit with me as the guy. I told Kat a lot of my life was in that PS4 and now it's all gone. Side note, yes I know, I should have backed up on the cloud. I did for some of my games, but a lot of them I just kept on the PS4. I had hundreds of hours from The Witcher 3, Kingdom Hearts games, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy, God of War, The Last of Us, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry games. Many of these titles were fully completed or close to that point. Most of them are now lost. Now Kat is calling me ungrateful and her boyfriend liked the Xbox she gave him. I asked her if she destroyed his old Xbox. She said no and that she just gave it to him gift wrapped last week. I asked why wasn't I given the same treatment, and it was because they saw the video yesterday and got the idea to recreate it. I told Liz I do appreciate the gift, but that she needs to know she broke a part of me that has been built over the years. It sounds stupid, but I was really proud of my collection. Liz then says, "Well, why can't you just do it on the new PlayStation?" I told her I could, but it would take a lot of time and effort that I may not want to put in again. She just brushed it off and said, "Well, you can now play your new games anyway. They're probably better." At this point I left and went to a friend's house, and where I'm writing this now, late at night. I don't know what to do at this point. I really don't care about the PS5 and I'm mad that a fucking viral video made this all happen. What the fuck is wrong with people where they think destroying someone's personal property is funny? They tried showing me the video, but I'm not watching that shit. Liz and I had a great relationship to this point. We've been together for 4 years and this is the only major issue that's come up. Some might think it's just a video game or that I can get past this, but I don't know if I can. It wasn't just that she did it, it was the fact that after it, she didn't seem to know why or care to know why I'm so upset. I've never had this feeling before and really don't know how to proceed here. My roommate calls my boyfriend our boyfriend. I, 19 female, have been dating my boyfriend Will, 20 male, for about 6 months now. I've been in relationships before, but this is definitely my first serious and healthy one, and I'm really happy with him. We met in our hometown, but we go to different universities that are about 2 hours apart. However, we try to see each other whenever we can, maybe about every 3 weeks. Usually Will come and visit me, because A, he has a car so it's cheaper and more convenient for him, plus bus routes between our cities no longer exist since Greyhound shuttered. B, a lot of his courses are still online only, whereas I have in-person lectures, and C, my house is a lot nicer than his. Whenever he visits, he stays for 4 to 5 days, which my roommates are okay with. He's also very nice and helpful. If I'm doing chores, he'll help, or he'll help take out the trash / wash dishes / make me breakfast, etc. One of my roommates, Cass, 19 female, was dumped near the end of September, and since then, I felt like she has been weird with Will. A few examples. Number 1, sometimes he'll cook for me if I'm busy at school or working late at the lab, and oftentimes he'll make enough for my roommates too. Almost every time this happens, Cass makes comments about how he's so sweet and that she wishes she had someone like him and how her ex could never. Will and I usually reassure her and say she'll definitely find someone who will treat her right, but she just looks at him expectantly. Expecting what? I don't know. 2. When he helps with manly stuff like taking out the trash, installing a hook in my room, moving heavy things, she always makes sure to linger around and comment about how strong he is and how I'm lucky to have such a fit partner. 3. Whenever he visits, we literally can't avoid her. If we go out, Cass will ask to come with. My roommates and I use an app that tracks our location for safety reasons, and when I go out with Will and don't tell her, she usually texts me asking me what I'm doing, what my plans are, if I want to hang out, etc. We try to stay in my room, but if Will goes into the kitchen or something, Cass will always happen to wander in. We have to lock my bedroom door when we sleep to make sure she doesn't come in. 4. I'm not much of a drinker, but after our midterms, Cass wanted to have a little thing with just the roommates. It was fun. We drank a little and watched movies. I'm pretty lightweight, so I got sloshed pretty fast, and at some point I was calling Will. And when Cass found out I was calling him, she was like, "Is that Will?" and kept ripping the phone from my hands very aggressively. She's a lot stronger than I am, and really loudly started talking about her sex life and asking him about his, saying shit like, "Make sure you hit it deep." Oh my. This is pretty in character for Cass, who claims to enjoy making people uncomfortable and makes these kind of comments for shock value. But I felt like she should have turned it off around my boyfriend. She was only tipsy at this point, not really drunk. Overall, anytime he's nice to her, she'll say things like, "Haha, it's almost like you're my boyfriend." And whenever she refers to him around me, she'll call him our boyfriend as a joke. But I still feel weird about it. Will finds this all very uncomfortable and tries his best to avoid Cass as best as he can, or shut her down when she makes those comments. I'm not sure if I should bring it up with her because on one hand I'm very uncomfortable, but on the other hand I feel like she'll just deny everything or say it's for jokes and maybe get hostile with me. Any advice appreciated.
We never lie, we never lie, we never lie, never lie, we never lie, we never lie, we never lie, never lie. We never lie, 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 we never lie. They've seen us talking, they've seen us walking, trying ripping us apart.
Hi guys, thank you for watching. I love you guys so much. Please like and subscribe to see more great videos. See you again.